All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rekor Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone that rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing this word in sincerity and truth on the four corners of the earth. All right, and just right quick, of course, I seen this article, Iraqi protesters return to streets, rocket strike in vicinity of U.S. Embassy. All right, now you see the Ishmaelites over there in the Middle East, all right, are rising up against America being in the homeland. All right, and now, we see, the scriptures, all right, in Habakkuk, which is Habakkuk 2, which is a chapter that, I've been grabbing a lot, in these videos. He's a proud man that can't stay at home. He increases what isn't his. All right, these nations are getting fed up with that, man. They're getting fed up with the fact that the United States is in their land, basically trying to be the boss and make rules, man. All right, and this is all the nations. All right, this is the beginning of the beast hating the whore. All right, all nations will turn on the United States because of their practices, man. All right, now I'm going to get into the article. It says Baghdad, one demonstrator was killed by security forces after hundreds of anti-government protesters flooded the streets of Iraq's capital and southern provinces Sunday, defying a powerful Iraqi religious leader who recently withdrew his support from the popular movement. Hey, the scriptures say that they won't regard their kings or princes, man. And my Iraqi citizens is sick of that shit, man. All right. Just like when America goes over there, you gotta realize in war they killing more civilians than they killing so-called what the fuck is that shit? Excuse me, ISIS. I can't remember the name of all these so-called terrorist groups, but they're killing more civilians than their actual quote-unquote enemy over there, man. So that's why when the so-called religious leader came, the Iraqis don't give a fuck. They tired of America being over there, man. They're tired of oppression. Just like any Israelite, you Negro, Latino, Native American, Seminole Indian, you're feeling the same way. You're tired of oppression, man. All right? But it says separately 5 Katayusha, excuse me if I pronounced that wrong, rockets crashed into a riverbank near the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad's heavily fortified green zone without causing any injuries or serious damage. A statement from U.S. Joint Operations Command said one rocket landed inside the embassy walls. An Iraqi security official said the official spoke on condition of anonymity in line with regulations. All right, so and this is BS because of course they're going to try to fight you back. You got to realize, like, if let's say somebody runs in your house, would you not try to get them out your home by any means to protect yourself and your family? But America, tries to make it seem like somebody fighting them is a problem. You're in their land, man. All right, like the scriptures say, let the weak say I am strong. They got the artillery to come at you now, man. Rockets. They'll run up on you with the hand gang. Guns, whatever, man. Everybody's tired of America's policy, man. And America will eventually be destroyed in the Third World War. All right. It says it was the third such attack this month, and perpetrators were not immediately known. Iraqi Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi condemned the rocket attack that targeted the U.S. Embassy. In a statement, he asserted Iraqis' commitment to protecting all diplomatic missions. All right, which it's not gonna happen, man. You know what I'm saying? This war is gonna continue. The uprising of the people is gonna continue all over the world. Excuse me. It says security forces fired tear gas and live rounds to disperse the crowds from the capital's Kalani Square. Medical and security officials said the officials spoke on conditions of anonymity in line with regulations. One protester was killed and 6 wounded after security forces fired live rounds in nearby Wathaba Square later in the evening. At least 28 demonstrators were reported wounded by Iraqi security forces in the first hours of Sunday's street rallies. It says the mass protests started in October over widespread government corruption, sedition amongst men, as the scriptures say, and a lack of public services and jobs. They quickly grew into calls for sweeping changes to Iraq's political system that was imposed after the 2003 U.S.-led invasion. Iraqi security forces have responded harshly. At least 500 protesters have been killed since the unrest began. Iraq also has been roiled by U.S.-Iran tensions that threatened a regional war after the American drone strike this month killed top Iranian General Qassem Soleimani near Baghdad. It says the U.S. attack pushed the Shiite cleric and political leader, Muqtada Sadr, to turn his influence towards demanding an American troop withdrawal and holding an anti-U.S. rally. Like going back to Habakkuk, how long we increase, I'm paraphrasing, but how long we increase that which is not his. They tired of that shit, man. You gotta realize, man, America been sticking their nose in everybody's business for years, man. For years, man. And they tired of it, man. The scriptures describe Ishmael, which is, what is Arabs, Middle Eastern people, whatever. They describe him as a wild man. Ishmael ain't taking that shit. They coming back for that receipt, man. And now it's turned up over there. World War III is on the brink, man. It says analysts said Sadr, who often mobilizes his followers on the street to buttress his political influence, was using the anti-U.S. protests he states as levers in political negotiations among Iraq's elites to select the next premier, which is probably bullshit. No, they not wilding, to get no political power. They wilding because they sick of America being over there. You got to realize, like, myself, I was born in 1990, right? So America went into the Middle East around 2001, as far as it pertains to, my recollection. But you got to remember, America was in the Middle East before that. They was in the Middle East with Bush Sr. These people are sick of that shit, man. Woe unto him that can increase is what is not his, man. They sick of that shit, bruh. And this is not the only place that feels like that, that's sick of America's bullshit, man. It says Sadr has long been an unpredictable maverick in Iraq politics and is the only Shiite leader who has challenged both Iran and the United States. He also dropped his support for the anti-government movement on Friday, a move that analysts said was meant to buttress his political reputation during the time of national turmoil. But by Sunday morning, it had the opposite effect as protesters pushed back. Hundreds of demonstrators, mostly students, marched Sunday through key squares in the capital in southern Iraq to show their continued support for the anti-government movement, despite Sadr's reversal of position. The demonstrations have become stronger now because of what happened, said, his name is crazy, but said Zadoan, 26, a protest organizer in Baghdad. Many demonstrations chanted slogans against the popular preacher, sedition amongst men, you know what I mean? Because a preacher is like a leader in the community, a so-called preacher. All right. But it says the movement opposes Iraq's sectarian system and both U.S. and Iranian influence in Iraqi affairs. Some demonstrators were worried, however, that the departure of Sadr's supporter and his militia members from Baghdad's Tahrir Square, the hub of the protest movement, could spark a renewed security crackdown. Sadr's followers have been giving protesters protective cover. It says on Saturday, hours after Sadr supporters left protest sites in Baghdad and some southern cities, including Basra, security forces swooped in to clear areas of demonstrators and torched their sit-in tents. At least 4 protesters were killed in the crackdown, officials told the Associated Press. The Iraqi High Commission for Human Rights said 12 protesters had been killed in the last 48 hours, 9 of them in Baghdad, and 230 were wounded. By Saturday evening, however, and into Sunday, crowds of protesters were returning to Tahrir Square, following calls by anti-government activists. It says in the beginning, when Sadr called his followers to leave, we were shocked, said Noor, a protest organizer who gave only her first name for security reasons. But by the evening on Saturday, we breathed a sigh of relief. The future of the popular movement, she was quick to add, was still uncertain. No one knows what will happen tomorrow. There will be more attacks. We expect that. With Sadr out of the picture, protesters said the only top leader on their side was Grand Ayatollah Ali Sistani, Iraq's most revered Shiite cleric. Many said they were hoping his weekly Friday sermon would boost morale before a major protest planned for the same day. In a statement posted online, Sadr called one of the protesters to return their movement to its initial course in what many anti-government activists interpreted as a veiled threat. It says the statement added that Sadr could boost his support for the heroic security forces if protesters didn't heed his calls. Sadr had called on his followers to stage rival protests targeting the U.S. Embassy on Sunday before reconciling the order shortly after. In a statement from his office, Sadr asked Iraqis who reject the American occupation to gather at key assembly points later that evening. A spokesperson from his office later said the decision had been reversed. The Associated Press is an independent, okay, that's something else. But, the point of the video is just to show, all right, that, matter of fact, Shalakia, because I didn't even get the scripture. This is Habakkuk 2, you know what I'm saying, coming to fruition, man. All right. Habakkuk 2:5, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Let's talk about these Edomites, these so-called white folks, man, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death. You know what I'm saying? That's why they over there killing everybody, man. That's why these people are rousing up, man. You gotta realize, man, they've been over there since the early 90s, man. All right. It says, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. All right, now this is the point. Shall not all these take a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? Who does that? America. All right. And it says, how long? That's the spirit thing. How long is these motherfuckers gonna be over here, man? Doing this shit to us. And it ain't like I'm standing up for the, Middle Eastern people, because y'all heathens too. The only people that matter is Negroes, Latino, Native, Seminole, Indian, which are the Israelites. But just it proves the scripture. And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them. Booties being spoils of war. All right, shall not they rise up suddenly and bite thee? That's what they doing now. They rising up. They ready, man. All right. It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, which nobody has more blood on their hands than the so-called white man, and for violence of the land, which who commits more violence in any land that you can name on the planet other than the so-called white man. Of the city and of all that dwell therein, man. All right, so you gonna get judged, man. All right, for what you doing. And this is just an example of it, all right? An example of the uprising of the people. All right, so I just want to make that quick video. All right, I hope it was edifying. With that, I'm going to say shalom.